Yes.
And what was that opinion?
My opinion is that she did have the capacity to appreciate right from wrong.
And what do you base that on?
Well, on a number of things. Ms. Clancy had just met with her psychiatrist, Dr. Tufts, the day before. And in that discussion with Dr. Tufts, as documented, she denied suicidal ideation, and she also denied thoughts of harm to others. And also there was an ongoing conversation regarding future possible treatments, esketamine or TMS, which I spoke about yesterday, that could be employed to help her. Also, with regard to the appreciation between right and wrong, the planning involved prior to the strangling of her children, I thought was significant. The searches for distance of 3V, the searches of CVS, all done prior to her sending fairly late in the afternoon a text asking her husband if he didn't mind takeout from 3V and then adding on. So that planning, that preparatory planning, I thought was significant. The avoidance of witnesses. You know, a witness during a time when one is committing a crime can intervene, not just report, but also intervene. And so the fact that this was done without any witness present during a time where she had asked the potential witness to go on a longer errand, also I thought was significant. Concealment is another thing that I think indicated an understanding of right and wrong. I mean, the children were strangled all in the basement, and according to Mr. Clancy, the door to his office had been closed when he arrived to the basement. Timing was really, really significant in this. There was a window of time that Ms. Clancy was aware of in which she would need to kill her 3 children as well as to kill herself, which she expected would happen. She was conscious of time and told me that she had mapped out the distance, et cetera, because she didn't want her husband to be gone too long. But in this case, I think the issue of time and her husband returning, rather than being a solution for her, was a problem. And so to accomplish all of this in the course of that amount of time that Mr. Clancy was gone, I thought was significant, really showed an awareness of time. In terms of the weapons used, now these were exercise bands, but they were all near where the children were strangled. They were placed there. That's where they kept those exercise bands. And the exercise bands were nearly identical. I mean, very similar in terms of what they could do as ligatures. And so that use of weapons that were readily available and nearby also was significant to me in terms of her understanding of and planning. I did not see any evidence that she had delusions about her children. delusions as to something wrong with them or something that required them, because of a delusion, that they needed to die. I don't recall that she ever spoke about her children.
1999 through the present, you work for the United States Department of Justice, and the United States Department of State, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be the United States Attorney's Office, the prosecutors. Like, they're the state prosecutors, you get federal prosecutors, right?
Well, federal prosecutors and defenders. I've worked with both.
Well, the defenders certainly don't work for the United States Department of Justice or the United States Department of State, do they?
I was under the impression that federal public defenders were under the umbrella of the Department of Justice.
No, that's called the CJAC. That would be a totally different group of people. Those are people that defend people to try to have them not be abused by the system, if you will.
Yeah, that question be stricken.
2015, you're a psychiatric consultant for the Virginia Office of the Attorney General. Another prosecuting arm, right?
Yes.
2013, Virginia Department of Virginia Department of Corrections, least restrictive measures for segregation. You evaluate people to determine if they should be in max or disciplinary unit as opposed to general population. Is that what you do?
Yes, I've been asked to do that.
Okay. And you certainly don't advocate on behalf of the prisoners that are being placed in seg or being placed in those closed units with higher security, right?
No, that's not true at all.
The National Security Expert 2007 to the present, Oak Ridge United Associated Universities. What is that?
Yes, that is a group that that does research with the Behavioral Analysis Unit and the National Center for Analysis of Violent Crime, and I have done work with them.
Okay. Critical Incident Analysis Group, CIAG, University of Virginia.
Yes.
Okay. Behavioral Analysis Unit, as you told us yesterday, for the FBI at Quantico, right?
That's right.
Psychiatric consultant to the Virginia Department of Corrections, medium, maximum, and supermax facilities, right?
Yes.
Continuing on with your experience, sir, as a witness in this case, you'd agree with me that you were involved as a psychiatric consultant with the Macro Task Force on-site consultation for the Australian Police Service.
Yes.
Former Soviet Union project, Republic of Georgia, TBILISI, Georgia. You're involved with that, sir?
Tbilisi.
Tbilisi, yeah. Critical Incident Response Group for the U.S. Air Force. You're in the assessment unit.
Yes.
Crisis Management Unit, investigative support for Operation Gray Sunset, Jordan.
Correct.
Crisis Management Unit, investigative support unit, critical incident response in Montreal, Quebec.
Yes.
FBI, National Center for Analysis of Violent Crime, Operation New Hope.
Yes.
Bureau of Criminal Investigation, that's BCI, for the Department of the State Police. Would that be Virginia?
Yes.
You also have an interest in and have studied or written about various topics in your career, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Hostage negotiations course, crisis management unit. You were involved with that, is that correct?
Correct.
That was a number of years ago, though. I guess that was like 1996.
That's right.
But you've been involved with the FBI for a long time, right?
Yes.
Fair to say that you're a government man?
Objection.
No, sustained.
And did Dr. Tufts administer Edinburgh test to this young woman?
I know that Ms. Clancy, there were a number of Edinburgh tests that were given to her, so that there are some scores in her record. I can't recall which practitioner gave her the Edinburgh test, but I do recall that there are a number of scores within her medical record.
Right. And what was her highest score?
The highest score that I recall was 23.
23 out of 30, right?
Correct.
And over 15, the patient is in pretty serious trouble, right?
Over 15 is concerning, definitely.
Right. And she was 23. Right?
Yes, I believe so. I think they ranged from 19 to 23, just
Right,
from my
they
memory.
increased as time went by, right? She was getting worse,
Correct.
right? Yeah. All right. And in addition to the regular blood test, which costs like, I don't know, about $100 to administer a blood test to see what somebody's got in their system. It's not a lot of money, right, for the insurance company.
I just didn't hear you.
Blood test. It's not a lot of money for an insurance company to pay, right? To cover.
Correct.
Okay. So do you feel that it is reasonable medical procedure for a psychiatrist dealing with a woman who is expressing under the Edinburgh scale off the charts or serious trouble, who is on medication, as we went through? The antipsychotic drugs, the SSRI drugs, the amitriptylines at the end of the period of treatment with these people, the benzodiazepines. It's helpful to take a blood test, right?
It can be.
And is that, in your opinion, sir, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, a step that should be taken by a competent doctor?
That taking blood tests can be appropriate, yes.
And then there's an additional blood test that you can use when you're dealing with a woman who's suffering from postpartum depression or coming to the doctor for help and they have significant narcotics or prescription drugs in their system, and that would be an enzyme test, right?
I'm not aware of an enzyme test being typically available or used.
Well, it costs a lot of money, doesn't it? Like, it costs a couple of grand?
I don't know.
All right. In any event, sir, are there any other concerns that one would have if they're competent and they're treating somebody that's come to them for help, in addition to a blood test and perhaps enzyme test to determine the metabolizing aspect of the person's system, metabolizing or processing these drugs that are in their system, the enzyme test? Are there any other tests or concerns that you have with a woman whose postpartum depression complaints come to your doorstep?
Well, depending on the presentation, sometimes it's helpful to check thyroid function. That can certainly be a cause of psychiatric symptoms.
Did they do a thyroid test on Lindsay?
No. Yes.
She was complaining not just to her physicians, but she was complaining to people in her community that she was having intrusive thoughts, dark thoughts, suicidal thoughts, and homicidal ideation. She said that, correct?
The homicidal ideation, as I understand, was just voiced to her husband and her mother.
Just voiced? Is that what you just said? Just voiced? Is that like talking about the Red Sox? She's talking about homicidal ideation of her children.
Sustained. Next question.
Among other things, when people are in trouble and they're having dark suicidal thoughts, whether or not it's voices in their head, whether or not it's thoughts that they can't go on anymore, they can't live life, they have to kill themselves. Many times they're told to call suicide hotlines, right?
Yes, Aspire.
Aspire. What is Aspire?
I don't know what it stands for, but it is a hotline that Ms. Clancy called twice because of her suicidal ideation.
When did she call Aspire saying that she had thoughts of killing herself?
I can't recall specifically.
But she did call them not once but twice and told them. So she complained and told them that she was going to kill herself, right? Twice. Right?
She spoke to them about suicidality.
So here's a young woman with all of what she's been through who now is to the verge of killing herself and reaches out to people that her health care providers told her to call for help, said that she was going to kill herself, and what did Aspire do?
As I understand, they redirected her to her provider. They did not make a decision to hospitalize or to recommend hospitalization.
They didn't make a decision to do anything.
Objection.
Yeah, so you can form that as a question, please.
Did you read the records dealing with Aspire? Did they do anything other than tell her, no, you're not someone that we can help?
I know that they were not responsive to her suicidality because she did not indicate that she had a plan.
And did you read a transcript or listen to a tape, or how do you know that?
I recall it someplace in the documents, it being referred to, but I can't tell you exactly where.
So this, sir, obviously is a murder trial, and you are a witness for the government, and you've indicated that you've read the records. You just told this jury that in the conversation that she had with the people from Aspire that she expressed suicidal ideation and was asked if she had a plan. Where are you getting that from?
I can't tell you exactly within the records.
How about the second time she called Aspire? Why would she call Aspire again if they wouldn't help her the first time? In your opinion as a psychiatrist? Looking for help?
Continuing to seek help.
And yet again, she didn't get any, did she?
That's my understanding.
To a reasonable degree of psychiatric certainty with treating the patients to the extent that you've told this jury that you have, what kind of a devastating effect would that have on a person who's ready to kill themselves that's called Aspire hotline twice and has been turned away?
Objection.
Overruled.
It could have a very serious effect. So there are certain tests that can be given by neuropsychologists to assess malingering about certain aspects, certain issues.
You've also heard, I imagine, of the MMPI, which is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory Test, right?
Yes.
And that's one that has different scales that you can examine to determine if somebody is lying or malingering or exaggerating or anything like that, right?
Correct.
And you know that Dr. Helbrun administered that very test to Lindsay about, I don't know, 2 months before you got there, right?
Yes.
Which would be about 4 months from now, where we stand now, right?
Something like that.
And would you agree, sir, that even though it would have been perhaps better to actually meet with Lindsay within the first 6 months after the incident, or a year even, or maybe even 2 years, but nevertheless, it still has reliability and validity, does it not, when it's administered to her?
The MMPI does, yes.
Okay. And you know, sir, that she, in fact, had no impact on the scales at all, with the exception of likelihood of suicide.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Indicating that, as far as that test that was administered to her by Dr. Helbrun, did not have any evidence at all. This kid was lying, exaggerating, suppressing anything. She was being truthful, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
About the questions that were on the MMPI, yes.
And those questions, sir, pertain to personality traits, they pertain to her recollection, they pertain to all of the investigation that Helbrun was conducting, right?
No.
Okay. So, when the tests were administered and the results were provided, would you agree with me, yes or no, that specifically the test indicated that she was not malingering?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree, sir, based on your investigation, police reports, statements of witnesses, grand jury, photographs, videos, interviews of Lindsay, review of witness statements, all of that you told us yesterday that you reviewed, that in fact on January 24th of 2023, Lindsay made a calculated decision. She was a woman who no longer liked the life she thought she wanted. It was getting harder and harder for her to control, and when she saw the opportunity to escape, she made the selfish choice to take it, and to take Cora, Dawson, and Callan first, before attempting to take her own life. Continuing on, sir, she chose to manipulate her providers, seek out a quick and easy fix when she was feeling depressed and anxious, and when she didn't get what she expected, she chose the alternate route. She would seek a different doctor. She would change medications after days. She disengaged from treatment that she didn't like the plan, and after only 4 months in treatment, she made a choice, a deliberate and intentional decision that she did not want to try anymore. And because no one could take care of her kids the way she wanted them to, she had to take them with her too. Would you agree that the evidence, in your opinion, supports that contention, sir?
Well, there's a lot in that.
Yeah, it is. Do you agree that it would support your contention, sir, or it would not?
I think that statement that you read really minimizes what she was going through.
Okay.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
You weren't aware that Kevin was on a month-long federal trial during that period of time either, were you? That'd be me.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Can you repeat it?
You could say, maybe get a little closer to the microphone. I had problems.
Aware, sir, that during the time that Ozga, her sister, said she's waiting to hear from Kevin, and I'm the Kevin, that I was on trial on a month-long federal case out of my office. You didn't know that, did you?
I did not know that.
Did you ever think to call me directly or at my secretary, my office manager, to ask about me reaching out to these people?
No.
That's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Let me
Thank
sit
you.
down. Thank you. Attorney Sprague?
Commonwealth rests.
All right. So members of the jury, the Commonwealth is now rested their rebuttal case. So you have the evidence. All right. And so at this point, what I'm going to do is excuse you till tomorrow morning. All right. And tomorrow morning, you should be ready. We're going to have closing arguments and the legal instructions in the morning. And then the jury will begin deliberating. All right. So that's tomorrow. So I would suggest you go home, rest up, and be ready for tomorrow. And so you now have heard all the evidence. For the first time I can say that. You've heard all the evidence. But you haven't heard the arguments from the attorneys. You haven't even heard, like I said before, the law that you're to apply. So you still have to keep an open mind.
A jury does have a right to consider that as a basis of an acquittal. They can consider that for purposes of finding reasonable doubt based upon the lousy investigation. In this case, it wasn't just a lousy investigation. It wasn't even an atrocious investigation. It was no investigation. In this case, Judge, the police, I think we all would agree, even the government, they basically accepted the fact that she strangled the kids are in the basement, she's guilty, and we move on. They didn't investigate anything. They didn't test the screen. They didn't even take a picture of the screen. They didn't see if there's any blood on the screen. There's no crushers for the alleged crushing of the medications. There's no indication that there's powder that she was crushing the medication to ingest the medication. There's all sorts of questions regarding the blood spatter, the blood. The police never investigated. They come into the court, they talk about their investigation through the crime scene laboratory and state police, and every question that I would ask about the door, about the blood drop on the door, about the siding, they come to 6 months later or whatever, they take the siding, it's degraded, they can't even test it. I could go on and on and on with the horrific investigation in this case. So I think it would be fair for the court to instruct them on Bowden. That's it.
All right. All right. All right. Well, I am going to give a manslaughter instruction in line with basically what's on page 8. I am not going to give a Bowden instruction. The defendant is free to argue that any deficiencies that he feels that are in the investigation, certainly free to argue. I will not give the voluntary intoxication instructions in regards to the criminal responsibilities. So I'll have a better draft in the morning, but I just kind of wanted to let you know what the instructions are so that you can prepare your closing arguments.